video. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking on my video. Hello world! I'm Chris Meisney, aka Mr. FLIXTER. Mr. FLIXTER.
Hello, world. I'm back. Hopefully, you can hear me now. Is that better? Thank you, Sabrina, for putting that in the chat. Sorry, everyone. We're having technical difficulties and trying to fix the issues. Please be patient. I had some microphone problems, but it seems to be okay now. So, since nothing was heard before, because for some reason my microphone wasn't working, I'm going to just start over again. Give me a second here. I got to get things set up. Again, I do apologize for the inconvenience.
I'll see you at the movies.
Ignore that. I'm just setting things up here. 1 second. Gotta get this ready too. Okay. Let's try this again, shall we? In this week's episode, I'm going to give my spoiler-free review of Sinners. And then, I'm going to rank my top 5 favorite vampire movies. What's your favorite vampire movie? But before we get to the main event, we got a birthday I want to talk about, and then the weekend box office for last week. So let's get to it, shall we? Live from Niagara Falls, it's Mr. FLIXTER Show on Saturday night.
Hello, world. I'm Chris Maitini, aka Mr. FLIXTER. Mr. FLIXTER.
Okay, so now I'm being told there's no picture. So if you can let me know in the comments if the picture's back, then maybe we can get started. So hopefully things get a little better. Again, I do apologize for the inconvenience. So hopefully now there's a picture. Is this better now? No? Okay. Let me try this. Okay. Make adjustments. Hopefully you can see me. All right, so I made an adjustment. Hopefully that helped. Because from here, it looks like it's going, but I can't tell what people see on the other side, right? So, okay, it looks like I'm back. So, okay, this week's episode, because I'm not sure what was recorded and what wasn't, I'm going to do my spoiler-free review of Sinners. But first, I'm going to go over a birthday that we had recently from the cast of the movie, and then I'm going to talk about the box office from the week before. And after I do all that, I'm going to rank my top 5 favorite vampire movies. So let's get started, shall we?
Hello, world. I'm Chris Mitchell, aka Mr. FLIXTER. Mr. FLIXTER.
So, there's a lot to talk about. So let's get started, shall we? Live from Niagara Falls, it's Mr. FLIXTER Show on Saturday night. So the cast member that had a birthday recently was Jerry O'Connell. Let's just share the screen. Sorry, Jack O'Connell. My mistake. Different O'Connell. Jack O'Connell was born on August 1st, 1990. So he just turned 35. There's his picture. He was born in Alveston, Derby, England. So let's see what he's been in. Let's go with acting. He was in the more recent 28 Years Later that just came out. Sinners, obviously. Back to Black. That was that Amy Winehouse movie, Ferrari. Some of these I never heard of before, like Little Fish, Jungle Land. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof was good. That's a very famous play with several adaptations. The Man with the Iron Heart was 2017. Unbroken was 2014. He was in 300, Rise of an Empire. Not as good as the original, but not bad. 2014. Tower Block. The Somnambulists. Sure. The Runaway was a TV show. What was his first thing? It was a TV show called Doctors. And it looks like his first movie was called This Is England. So happy birthday, Jack O'Connell. Okay. 1 second. Okay. So now let's talk about the weekend box office for last week, shall we? I'm just glad things are up and running now. So let's share the screen again. Let's go here. All right, so we want this one, I think. So it looks like number 1 last week was Fantastic Four: First Steps. It made $38.6 million. And it's still in about 4,000 theaters. It dropped a lot, though. Wow. Last week it was in number 1 too, but still, it's been out for 2 weeks. Number 2 was The Bad Guys 2. That just came out. That made $21.9 million. So that's pretty good for its opening weekend. The New Naked Gun is number 3. It made $16.8 million. That's the first week. Superman was number 2 last week. It dropped 2 spots to number 4. So it made $13.7 million, and it's made $316 million so far. That's amazing. I'm looking forward to that one. I haven't seen it yet. And the 5th spot is Jurassic World Rebirth with $8.7 million. It's made $317 million so far. Wow. So it's made more than Superman. That's amazing. It's pretty good too. I got a review for that on my channel. If you're interested, you can always check for that. Number 6 is Together. It made $6.7 million. It's made a total of $10.8 million. Not bad. Number 7 is F1. That's the Formula One movie with Brad Pitt. It made $4 million. It's made $173.3 million so far. I dropped a spot though. Last week it was at number 6. Number 8 is the I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel, Legacy sequel. It made $2.6 million. And it's been out for 3 weeks now, so it's made $29.2 million so far. And number 9 is the Smurfs movie. Believe it or not, it made $1.8 million. It's made $28.5 million so far for a total of 3 weeks. And number 10, hanging on there is the How to Train Your Dragon live action remake with another $1.3 million. And it's made $260.3 million so far. Last week it was at number 8, so it dropped a couple spots. And then, of course, we got Eddington, Lilo and Stitch, Elio, and Mission Impossible hanging in there. Shout out to Mission Impossible. 197, almost $200 million. It's been out for 11 weeks. So that's the weekend box office. Let's just look at the international. This is domestic, of course. So let's go worldwide. But before I do that, I just want to make sure I'm still live. Okay, cool. We are good. So I want to be in the corner. There we go. All right, so here's the top 10 for the worldwide box office so far. Ninja 2 still holding strong. It's got almost $2 billion so far. And then number 2 is the Lilo and Stitch remake. It's got over $1 billion so far. Wow. I'd be really surprised that made over $1 billion and the Minecraft movie didn't. See that? Number 3. And then Jurassic World Rebirth is coming in strong at number 4. Worldwide total of $772.6 million. Number 5 is How to Train Your Dragon, $16.4 million. Number 6 is Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, $594.6 million. Number 7 is Superman, $569.5. So it's very close between those two. F1 is number 8, so that's $561.3 million. Captain America: Brave New World's hanging in the strong too. It's got $415 million. And number 10 is Fantastic Four: First Steps with $389.6 million. And here's Sinners, number 12. Shout out to Sinners. It made $365.8 million so far. So if you haven't seen it, it's streaming now on Brave in Canada and probably HBO Max in the States. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There's the weekend box office. Okay, still streaming. So let's get to the event, shall we? So let me just share the screen and I'll pull up the poster. If this works, here we go. This is actually going to be easy. Let's just click spinners. Here's the poster. So, Sinners was written and directed by Ryan Coogler. It stars Michael B. Jordan, Miles Canton, Saul Williams, and a ton of other people. This cast is stacked. So let's just look at this cast real quick. Haley Steinfeld, Delroy Lindo, my apologies. Omar Benson Miller. Phenomenal cast. Okay, let's go back. Here's the poster. It was made with a budget of $90 million. And its worldwide total, like I said, was $365.8 million. So it did really well. So here's the synopsis according to IMDb. Close. If it'll let me. Here we go. Let me just double check to make sure we're still going. What is this? Okay, still going. Cool. What is going on here? Are we still airing? Okay, it looks like we're still live. But it looks like something happened in a different window. So I don't know if it's sharing the screen. Hold on, let's get rid of this. I'm not sure what happened there. Hold on. No, that's good. Let's go here. Go back to IMDb. here. Still sharing, right? Okay, cool. Let's just do that. Not sure what happened there. Another window popped up all of a sudden. But here we go. Back at it. Okay, here's the synopsis according to IMDb. Let me just check. Still going. Okay, looks good here. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. So the question remains, does this flick show how starting your own business is a real pain in the neck? Writer director Ryan Coogler has really outdone himself this time by giving us a spellbinding, genre-blending cinematic experience. He takes his time to develop the world and the characters in it. I love movies that you can live in. I just want to explore the Mississippi Delta and see how all these people coexist in such a tumultuous time. It's clear Coogler did his research too, because of how rich the script is in historical details. For example, after slavery was abolished, the Chinese were brought to America to work on plantation fields. However, many of them couldn't handle the hard labor, so gradually they started opening up general stores in town. Details like this aren't often depicted in movies, so it's really cool how they went that extra mile to show it. It's full of cinematic wide shots. The size of the scope is incredible. He uses long takes to help the world feel more lived in. Like there's a scene when the shopkeep's daughter walks across the street to get his wife, and then she walks back, but it's all done in one shot. And you can just see everything around her. The whole environment is just bursting with life. I love it. It's the same way that like Game of Thrones feels like it's lived in, or Star Wars. Great attention to detail like that. The set designs, the costumes, and special effects makeup, as well as the acting and camera work, are all exceptional. I just want to make sure I'm still going. Okay, that looks pretty good. So this is basically a slice of life story. It all takes place in one day, a 24-hour period. Roughly. The first half of the day is the life story of the Smokestack twins. Both of them are played exquisitely by Michael B. Jordan, who are gangsters that grew up in Mississippi, went to Chicago for like 7 years, worked for Al Capone, and then came back to start a nightclub. Or as they call it, a juke joint. There's a scene where Michael B. Jordan shares a smoke with his brother. But the way they do it, it's hard to tell like when they're using a stunt double or when they're using like a split screen. How they do the shot, it's all blown my mind. want to give a shout out to Miles Canton as Sammy. He's Smoke and Stack's 17-year-old cousin. He's a blues musician. Even though it stars Michael B. Jordan, really, this is Sammy's story. And then Wumi Musaku, sorry if I butchered that, plays Annie. She's well known in the MCU more for like the Loki show. But she plays Smoke's estranged wife. And she's also a hoodoo expert, which is a system of folk magic focused on practical outcomes of personal power. Not to be confused with voodoo, a religion with established deities, rituals, and a hierarchical priesthood. So that's another attention to detail there. There's a big difference between the two of them. And Kugler let you know this is hoodoo, not voodoo. I love how Haley Steinfeld plays against Type 2. She plays Mary. She's Stack's ex. Her complicated past with him is one of the more interesting parts of the film. And then, of course, Jack O'Connell plays Remick. It's interesting because this portrays an Irish vampire. You don't usually see that too many in movies. So it's pretty cool they do that. Not only is this different than what we're used to seeing, but Coogler makes it a point to make historical comparisons between Black people, Chinese people, and Irish people. As far as oppression goes. His performance is intensely hypnotic. He goes from charming to intimidating at any given moment. He's a tragic character whose motivation makes sense. He does such a good job as the villain. Omar Miller is hilarious too. You might recognize him from 8 Mile, but he plays the bouncer, and he is a perfect comic relief. And then Delroy Lindo, I mentioned him earlier. He plays Delta Slim. He's an older blues musician. He's more of a local legend. He's well established in this world. He has this monologue where he describes how his life took a dark turn when an innocent friend was murdered by a lynch mob for a crime he didn't even commit. It's a heartbreaking moment, amplified by the sound design. As he talks, the actions that he describes are heard in the background, rather than just doing a flashback and showing it. It's interesting how they set that up, because that's how life is too. When someone's telling you a story, you don't see the flashback, you just hear what they say and you kind of imagine what was going on. He's also got funny moments too, to be a more well-rounded character. He's not just one note. None of these characters are just one-note characters. Also, the emphasis on music was unexpected too. I love how it simultaneously drives the plot and it accentuates how culturally important music is. The film's soundtrack features blues, soul, gospel, bluegrass, and Irish folk music. I didn't write it down here, but they also include Chinese music too. Very interesting. In the beginning, they describe how music has the ability to pierce through the veil of time, past, present, and future. And when it depicts this in a scene, it is phenomenal. It's all shot in one take. And it's incredibly choreographed and filmed. Can't talk today. I just want to make sure I'm still going. All right, it looks like everything's fine. Cool. But yeah, it starts off with Sammy playing music, and then it pans up, and it literally shows the roof on fire, and then it pans all around the bar, and as it happens, it shows different influences that different music that blues have influenced. And it shows somebody that kind of looks like Bootsy Collins. It's got DJs that are scratching. It's got other guitar players. It's got African musicians and Chinese too. It goes all around the room. And it's hard to describe, but the way it does it is phenomenal. There's another scene later on involving an Irish dance that's hauntingly beautiful as well. It focuses on his feet, and then it pans out to show a wide shot of everybody dancing together under this kind of trance that Remick has them under. It's really cool how they did it. Sure, I'm still going. Okay. Cool. It's hard to describe these scenes, but believe me, I haven't seen anything like this before, and it's very innovative the way that they're filmed. So overall, this film is heavily steeped in different cultures that it portrays, such as Black, Chinese, and Irish. It shows how America really was a melting pot back then too, and nobody was safe from oppression. Everybody has a tough time in the past. It's got masterful storytelling and filmmaking techniques used to an enthralling extent to create this world in Mississippi in the 1930s during Prohibition. I like too how there's not a lot of exposition. Things are just told naturally through conversations. I feel like these people are just talking to each other instead of just force feeding you a bunch of information so you're all caught up. It's a really nice touch. So, because of the cinematography, the grand cinematic scope, excuse me, and top-notch acting, make this a must-watch. Sorry, I had to take a drink there. Make sure I'm still going. I'm like paranoid now because of the technical difficulties so far, but so far, so good. Here we are. Put myself in the corner. Maybe. Yeah, cool. Another thing I like is, unlike Jordan Peele, this film doesn't focus on quote-unquote evil white people. In fact, it goes out of its way to compare the oppressive nature of human beings, no matter what race they are, because all people have suffered throughout human history. A minor complaint that I have is that it takes too long to get to the vampire portion of the film. I mean, it's not until about the 45-minute mark, close to an hour mark, until we start seeing vampires, which is fine. It takes time to build the world up, and I do appreciate that. But they could have sprinkled some vampire stuff throughout the movie too, like from the beginning. Because the way it starts off with, I don't want to say too much, but it starts off one way, then we get back to that point. So you know something happened. But it could have just hinted at vampires a little bit more throughout the story. And then once it does get to the vampire portion, it does feel rushed, in my opinion. It could have more time developing the vampires or showing more vampire horror. The vampires feel kind of like an afterthought in this movie. I just thought it could have used more horror elements, but I'm a horror guy. So, minor complaint. Doesn't make it a bad movie. What it does a really good job of is building tension and building atmosphere. It starts with all the craziness and all the stress that it takes to set up a club. And then it goes into... Oh, there's a stampede. Sorry. Oh, got run over. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. It starts off with all the stress it takes to start a club. And then once the club gets going, it shows how things go horribly wrong. But that part's only like the last 45 minutes of the movie. So I feel like this movie could have been a little bit longer, even though it's already 2 hours and 15 minutes long. So, because of the nature of the film, comparisons to From Dusk Till Dawn are undeniable. But I'd argue it's different enough to be a wholly original story. Like, it never feels derivative of it, because it just sucks you into this world. These characters are so interesting. I can also see this being inspired by Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee. Because it's that slice of life kind of story. It's all about racism. Well, no, not necessarily racism, but it's about oppression of other people. Because the main vampire, Remick, he's not really racist. There's no indication of him being racist. He just wants to make a big happy family, so to speak. So, if you like those movies, I highly recommend this. Because Hollywood doesn't make enough original films like this. It's not inspired by a prior IP. It's not a sequel. It's not a remake. It's not an adaptation of something else. You could see the inspirations of other things. But other than that, it's totally original. I love that. More movies need to be like this. Make sure you stick around for the after credit scenes too. There's 2 of them. The first one's more like an epilogue because it's an extended scene. It's like 5 or 6 minutes, but it's so important to bring closure to the story. So I highly recommend it. So let's get back to me and remove. Okay. So, special grade for Sinners is a large popcorn. And remember, this flick is fantastic. Okay. Now that the review is over, let's get to the other part of the episode, shall we? I'm going to rank my top 5 favorite vampire movies. But before I do that, I'm going to give a few honorable mentions. Because there's so many good vampire movies, it's hard to pick just 5. So let's get a quick drink. Let's get started. So let's go to IMDb one more time. And corner. Okay. The first honorable mention is the original Nosferatu from 1922. Go away. I'm not sponsored. Here's the poster. So, Nosferatu was directed by F.W. Murnau. Sorry if I butchered that. It was written by Henrik Galeen, inspired by Bram Stoker's Dracula. Stars Max Schreck as Count Orlok, Alexander Greenwich, and Gustav von Wangenheim. Wangenheim. Sorry, I butchered that. Unfortunately, Sabrina and I, well, she's my girlfriend. She made all these notes for me. Thank you, Sabrina, for taking these lovely notes. We couldn't find the budget for this movie, but it did gross $48.8 thousand. So the reason this didn't make the top 5 is because it kind of feels like a cop-out to put it in there. Even though I do consider this to be one of the greatest films of all time. I even give it a seal of approval as one of Mr. FLIXTER's 20 greatest films of all time. So why it's great is because this is the original on-screen vampire. This was the first vampire movie. Max Schreck's performance remains haunting over a century later. It's got a unique angle because German Expressionism, and it's a prototype for other cinematic vampires. I mean, this scene is just dripping in German Expressionism. It's gorgeous to look at. It is the quote-unquote first unofficial adaptation of Dracula. And Count Orlok is basically the prototype for all cinematic vampires to come out after this. It's a silent film, so it's got that kind of aesthetic to it. And it plays a lot with light and shadows to create some of the most haunting, iconic imagery ever put to film. I mean, this is got the scene where like Count Orlok rising from his grave, the scene with Count Orlok being destroyed by the sun, the shadow of the hand on the wall. Very iconic shots that even though if you haven't seen the movie, you might recognize some of these shots. So basically, the legacy of this is to set the foundation for all vampire films to come. There's just other vampire movies that I'm more attached to personally. That's why this didn't make the top 5. I just want to make sure I'm still going. All right, looks like we're live. Good. So that is Nosferatu. The remake isn't bad either, but you should really watch this one if you're a cinephile and a horror fan. If you haven't seen this movie, if you love vampires, watch Nosferatu. The next honorable mention is Fright Night, the original. I'm not a fan of the remake. You can skip the remake. Here's the poster. I love this poster. Gorgeous. Look at that. This was written and directed by Tom Holland. It stars Chris Sarandon as Jerry, William Ragsdale, and Amanda Burst. The budget was $9 million, and it made $24.9 million at the box office. So the reason this is great is because this takes vampires and puts them in a modern state. Of course, back then, modern would have been the suburbs in the 80s. And it's got a lot of self-aware humor, too. Basically, a vampire moves in next door, and a horror fan just happens and a horror fan who just happens to be the teenager is the only one who notices and nobody believes him. It's got a unique angle because of all the meta humor, and the creature feature effects are fantastic. These have some of the most scariest vampires ever put to film. And even though it has that blend, the humor never undercuts the horror. That's such a hard balance to do. And the reason that this one has such a legacy is because this is a love letter to classic horror and vampire tropes with its own unique flair. The reason people love it so much, myself included, is because it mixes the satire and the scares so well. A lot of movies tried to copy this too after it came out, so it really set the blueprint for how to combine the humor and the horror without over outweighing one or the other. This came out in 1985, by the way. Good year, good year. Okay. My next honorable mention is The Lost Boys from '87. Here's the poster. So, Lost Boys. Oh, I'll get rid of that. Actually, I just want to make sure I'm still going. And we are still live. Perfect. Here's the poster. Lost Boys. This was directed by Joel Schumacher. It was written by Dan Fisher, James Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. When did I drop? Did we get the Lost Boys in there, or do I need to go back? Someone can let me know. That'd be great. Just going to set up the screen sharing while I wait. Entire screen. And share. Put me in the corner. Okay. So do I need to do Lost Boys again? I was told it just dropped, so maybe I don't have to go back too far. Unfortunately, technical difficulties happen. I do apologize for the inconvenience. So let's give it a few minutes here while I find out what exactly is going on, and we can continue. I need to know where it left off. How far back do I have to go? Okay, I think things are running smoothly now. Okay. So I'll just go here, share the screen. Let's go back. Let's go back. One more time. Lost Boys. So basically, this movie exudes coolness. It's a stylish punk rock vampire story about teen rebellion with a killer soundtrack. It's the definition of 80s coolness. In my life, hold on. Let's just go back to here. Let's see what's going on here. Again, I do apologize for the inconvenience. Hopefully things are going up smoothly now. Okay, it looks like I'm live. I'll just give it another minute or two. Make sure the connection's going. Says I'm connected. It's got a weak signal though, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, I'm back. Cool. So let's talk about Lost Boys. It was written and directed by Joel Schumacher. It's from 1987. It was written by Jan Fisher, James Jeremias, and Jeffrey Bohm. It stars Jason Patric, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, and Diane West. It was made on the budget of $8.5 million, and its worldwide gross was $32.5 million. The reason why it's so great is because it has this stylish punk rock attitude. It's all about teen rebellion, and it's got a killer soundtrack too. This movie is the definition of 80s cool. It's an up-and-coming story too that meets up with vampire seduction, but it's not the way that it typically is. It's about one guy being befriended by a group of people, and then it turns out that they're vampires. So really, this is like a teen comedy disguised as a vampire movie. It's got a good blend of humor and horror. It's also got this mystery aspect to it too. It's about who's the head vampire and how do we stop him. I think the Coreys have really great chemistry in this movie too. In my opinion, this is one of their best films together. And you can see the inspiration for like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or even Twilight because of this movie. We wouldn't have those if this didn't exist. Plus countless other cool vampire archetypes. It's like laid the foundation for it. Don't get me wrong, Jerry from Friday Night was cool, but not like this. Even though it's not heavy on the violence, the vampire stuff is still prevalent enough that it doesn't feel like it was an afterthought or anything like that. It feels like it's still the core of the movie. And I love how it was filmed in, I think it was filmed in Santa Cruz. It looks very familiar. I used to live in California and I visited there frequently. So it's cool to see places that I've lived in movies. And I'd argue too that this helped boost Schumacher's career. So that's The Lost Boys. It's great. I love it. I just love these other movies so much more. Let me see if I'm still going. Oh, I didn't share the screen. Let's try that again. Sorry about that. Do this one more time. Take 3. It came out in 1987. Lost Boys was written and directed by Joel Schumacher. It was written by Jan Fisher, James Jeremias, and Jeffrey Bohm. It stars Jason Patric, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, Kiefer Sutherland, and Diane West. It made a budget of $8.5 million, and it made $32.5 million at the box office. So the reason why this one's great is because it's got stylish punk rock vampires, teen rebellion, and a killer 80s soundtrack. This is the definition of 80s coolness. It's got a unique angle too, because it's a coming of age tale combined with vampire seduction, but not in the typical way that it usually is, about a guy seducing a girl, something like that. No, it's about a guy who gets befriended by a group of other guys, and they kind of want him to join the gang. So, and it's all about peer pressure too. Really, it plays out like teen comedy mixed with a vampire movie. And the meshing of comedy and horror is brilliantly balanced. I'd argue, too, this is one of the best movies with the Coreys. They have really good chemistry in this film. The reason this has such a legacy is because this is a classic, often cited for its unique tone and atmosphere. And you can see how this would have inspired things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Twilight, along with other countless cool vampires in other movies. It really did set up that archetype. It does a good job of combining the different genres to make something new. I'd argue, too, that this helped boost Joel Schumacher's career. I mean, this thing is just oozing with style and coolness. So that's the Lost Boys. Nice going. Yeah, we got it. All right. Moving on. Sharing screen. Good, good. Okay. Close this. The next honorable mention is Near Dark. Here's the poster. Maybe, if it pops up. I do apologize. My computer is being very slow. Am I still connected? Still good. We're good. Okay. There we go. Love that poster. So Near Dark came out in 1987. It was directed by Catherine Bigelow, and it was written by Bigelow and Eric Red. It stars Adrienne Pasdar, Jenny Wright, Lance Hendrickson, and Bill Paxton. It was made on a budget of $5 million, but it only made $3.3 million when it first came out. So it wasn't a huge success, but eventually it gained a cult following. I just want to double check. I'm like paranoid now. All right, cool. So the reason this one is unique is because it's a neo-Western vampire tale with gritty realism and heart. Catherine Bigelow really brought emotional depth as well as style to the film. It's got a unique angle because it depicts vampires as roaming outlaws as opposed to aristocrats like it usually does in other movies. And this is more of a road trip movie and a Western than it is a vampire movie. It's kind of in disguise, if you will. It's gritty, it's intimate, and it's moody. It also explores themes of addiction, family, and moral conflict. Let me just check. Still going. Good. Okay. Bill Paxton and Lance Hendrickson especially deliver unforgettable performances. They're some of the scariest vampires I've ever seen in the movie. And the reason this left such a lasting impression on people, the reason it has this legacy, I believe, is because it's got this unique tone and unique atmosphere. It feels more realistic and feels more gritty than other movies do. And I think the main reason for that is because how it shows the vampires just traveling along, and they do their best to try and stay out of the sun. So they always try and hide whenever it gets near dark, hence the title. So yeah, I recommend this if you haven't seen it. Let me just check. Still going. Great. Okay, the next honorable mention is 30 Days of Night. This is based off a graphic novel. I haven't read it, but the movie is really good. So, it was directed by David Slade. This came out in 2007, by the way. It was written by Steve Niles, Stuart Betty, and Brian Nelson. It stars Josh Hartnett, Melissa George, and Danny Houston. It was made in the budget of $30 million, and it made $75.5 million when it came out. Wow. I really do believe this is one of the scariest modern vampire flicks ever made. The concept of vampires attacking an isolated Alaskan town during a month of total darkness, that does happen in Alaska sometimes, is genius. It's got a unique angle because of the brutality. This is one of the most violent vampire movies I've ever seen. This also depicts vampires as being more animalistic instead of them being sophisticated aristocrats like I stated before. These vampires are truly monstrous. They're unrelenting, savage vampires that terrorize this Alaskan town. It's bleak, it's intense, and I think it really did lay the blueprint for survival horror movies that came out after this one. The vampires, too, speak their own language in this. They rarely speak English, and they're more beast than man. It's more grunts and roars. They're fast, they're strong. These vampires are scary. Am I still alive? It's like a game. Okay, we're back. So, the reason this has left such a legacy is because this is one of the most terrifying portrayals of vampires in modern cinema. It shifted the mainstream portrayal away from sexy vampires to more savagely brutal ones. It influenced post-2000 survival horror tone by upping the ante with the violence and the intense fear factor. There's a little girl vampire in this that gets decapitated. And she's the scariest thing in the movie. So yeah, if you like your vampire movies dark, brutal, and violent, highly recommend 30 Days of Night. It's got a sequel too. It's called Dark Days. It's not as good as the original, but I'd recommend that one too. Dark Days and 30 Days of Night. The next honorable mention is called Daybreakers. This came out in 2009. It's got a cool poster too, but it won't make sense unless you've seen the movie. I'm not really going to get into too many spoilers with these movies either, because if you're new to these movies, if you haven't seen them before, I don't want to ruin them. So, anyways, Daybreakers, 2009. It was directed by Peter and Michael Spierig. Written and directed by Peter and Michael Spierig. My apologies. Excuse me. It's got Ethan Hawke, William Dafoe, and Sam Neill. It was made on a budget of $20 million. And it made $51.4 million at the box office. So, let me just make sure. All right, still going? Good. The reason why I think this one is great is because it cleverly puts a sci-fi spin on the vampire genre. There's not too many vampire sci-fi movies. This is all about a world where vampires are the majority and humans are being harvested blood because there's a blood shortage. And if they don't come up with a replacement for blood or some kind of synthetic blood, it could mean the end of vampire existence. It's got a unique angle because it combines corporate dystopia with this blood as a resource metaphor. It's a fresh take on vampires that have taken over society, instead of it being the other way around, where vampires try to hide and try to live in secret. So it takes all the tropes and it kind of flips it on its head. It touches on themes of corporate greed, resource scarcity, and ethical dilemmas. For example, there's a point in time where Ethan Hawke finds a group of humans. He's a vampire. And then he struggles about whether or not he should turn them in or if he should help them out. It's visually appealing, too. It just looks so sleek. Ethan Hawke and William Dafoe especially give strong performances. They have good chemistry, too. I like how they work off each other. So the reason this has left a legacy is because it's more of a cerebral vampire movie mixed with a dystopian sci-fi feel. And it cleverly adds horror elements to it too. It's a brilliant concept, stylishly executed. So that's why I recommend Daybreakers. The final honorable mention is one that is more recent, but it might not be as known. There was an independent film. It's called Afflicted. Ever since I first saw this movie, I fell in love with it because it's so unique. The reason for that being it's a found footage vampire movie. There's not too many of those. This was written and directed by Derek Lee and Cliff Prowse. It also stars Cliff Prowse and Derek Lee. Unfortunately, we couldn't find the budget for this one, but given its found footage nature, I'm going to estimate it's got a really low budget. So I'm going to guess under $500,000. So given that, considering the worldwide gross was $121 million, it's phenomenal. I like this poster too, but again, the poster doesn't make sense unless you've seen the movie. And I don't want to ruin it. Still streaming? Good, good. So the reason I think this one is great is because it's all about a travel vlog that goes horribly wrong. And then you get to see firsthand Derek's transformation into a vampire. So we've seen other movies where people deal with becoming vampires, but not like this. It makes it feel more personal just because of the way it was shot. It's got a unique angle because of its POV storytelling. It feels more realistic. It feels like it could be like a YouTube video or it could be like a documentary, something like that. And it does a really good job with body horror. This movie gets gross. I love it. The highlight of this movie is how realistically it depicts a vampire transformation. It's long, it's slow, and it's painful. So I guess I compare it to like American Werewolf in London, if that was a found footage movie. It's a good job of combining CGI and practical effects too, but the CGI is used so minimally, it's really a spectacle for the eyes because of the stuff that they do practically. There's a scene, I put it in the commercial for this episode. Hold on, let me just check. Still streaming, cool. Where they got trapped on the third floor, and Derek jumps out of a window. He looks on the street and then looks up from where he just jumped from. But it's all shot in one take. I don't know if he really jumped or if there was a stunt man or if there was some kind of a cut in between there that was kind of hidden, but this movie's mind-boggling the way it was filmed. It's got a lot of cool parkour action too. Derek has a lot of jumping over buildings, not over buildings, but from like one rooftop to another rooftop or climbing buildings really fast. It looks like he did most of his own stunts too, which I always appreciate. This underrated gem brings raw intensity and realism to vampire horror movies. It's an innovative indie flick. And it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. So I highly recommend Afflicted if you haven't seen that yet. Okay. Now that the honorable mentions are out of the way, let's get to the list, shall we? So the reason I chose these movies over the other ones that I mentioned before is, well, I have more of a personal connection to these, and they've all earned spots for different reasons too, from stylized direction to blending different genres, iconic performances, the gore factor, or how they reinvented the vampire cliches. That's why I consider these to be some of the best vampire movies. It's an eclectic collection, ranging from campy, cheesy, fun vampire flicks to serious, dark, gothic romanticism. They span multiple genres too, beyond horror, like action, sci-fi, comedy, western, coming of age, kind of like how I described with those other movies, but this was more so. And they each have a strong directorial vision. So much so, they created iconic vampire archetypes that other movies tend to copy afterwards. So it's got style, it's got substance, and it's got scares. These are the things I'm looking for. All right, so I set up on Letterboxd. the list. So share the screen. Tab. Go to my list. Let's edit. So for now, they're just in the order of their release. But these are the movies that are in the running for my top 5 favorite vampire movies. If it loads. While it's doing that, I'll just make sure we're still streaming, still live. Okay, good. Let's go back to Letterboxd. Here we go. So these are the ones that are in the running in order of release. So, at number 5. I'm going to put Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, let's just go to IMDb. Let's get that poster going. Buffy. This came out in 1992. So I was 7 when this came out. So I grew up with it. It's one of those movies that's always just kind of been around. It was directed by Fran Rubel-Fuzuli. Sorry if I butchered that. It was written by Joss Whedon. It stars Christy Swanson, Donald Sutherland, Paul Rubens, Luke Perry, David Arquette, and I always get his name wrong. So give me 1 second. Go away, I'm not sponsored. There it is. Rutger Hauer. He's the main vampire. Oh yeah, and it's got Hilary Swank. She's got a small role. I keep forgetting about that. Anyways, let's talk about Buffy. Love that poster too. Sort of teases who she is without showing her face. You know, everything about Buffy just because of this picture. The reason why I think it's great. Hold on, let me just check real quick. All right, let's try and do the moon take, shall we? The reason why it's great is because it blends campy fun, a kick-ass female lead, and it's the seed for what would become one of the most popular supernatural TV shows ever made. It's got a unique angle because it's a teenage satire that meets a vampire movie. Instead of making the vampire slayer a typical old man, it makes it a teenage girl, a cheerleader no less. So that there, you can see how her character has the athleticism to be a vampire slayer. She would also have the dexterity and the reflexes. It's colorful, it's funny, it's cheesy, but it subverts horror tropes by turning the blonde victim who normally runs away from the monsters into the one that the monsters run away from. Buffy's confident, quippy, and self-empowered. She ain't in distress. She saves the boys. I think this is one of the first movies that did that for like teenage comedy vampire movies. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But yeah, the reason this lasts such a lasting legacy is because it put a feminist twist on vampire mythology. And it's a precursor to genre-savvy horror. I'd even argue that this movie was heavily influenced by The Lost Boys. But again, I'm more personally attached to this one. It also popularized horror comedies with the meta humor aspect. As well as having a female lead for your supernatural protagonist. And the performances are unforgettable here, especially Paul Rubens. He is hilarious. So, my official grade for Buffy is a large popcorn. Those are the reasons why it's number 5. So I make sure we're still streaming. We're still good. All right, moving on. At number 4, I have Vampire in Brooklyn. Did you know Eddie Murphy was in a vampire movie in the 90s? With Angela Bassett? They were. This came out in 1995. So I would have been 10. This movie gave me nightmares when I was a kid. Aside from Eddie Murphy and Angela Bassett, it's got Vernon Lynch and Charlie Murphy. Oh, sorry, wait. Sorry, Charlie Murphy and Vernon Lynch wrote it. It was directed by Wes Craven. Aside from Murphy and Bassett, it stars Alan Payne. And I keep forgetting his name. He's been in a bunch of movies too. Let me just look real quick. Because he's worth mentioning. He's funny. John Witherspoon, that's his name. Had to mention him. Let's go back to that poster. This film was made on the budget of $20 million. And it made $19.7 million at the box office. So it didn't do very well when it came out, but it did get a cult following over time and some popularity with horror fans. Like me. So why it's great, in my opinion, is because it combines Eddie Murphy's wit with Wes Craven's horror expertise. It's got a unique angle because it combines vampire mythology with an urban comedy. And the way that the character is written, Maximilian, that's who Eddie Murphy plays, it's a rare instance where it gives him room to be both dramatic and comedic. He really steps up his acting game in this one. There's times where he's hilarious, and there's other times where he's just downright scary. I didn't know he had it in him up until this point. It's also unique because it blends Caribbean vampire mythology with the typical vampire story. Instead of being from Transylvania, it's from a whole different part of the world. It's severely underrated, considering the charm, the humor, the body horror, and the originality of it all. I've never seen anything like this, and still have to this day. It's a cult classic now, appreciated for its uniqueness in vampire cinema. Eventually, it did get recognized by the horror community, but it took some time to get there. I'd be surprised if you hadn't heard this movie before. But there's no denying the cultural impact, the genre's significance. Because you got the master of comedy with the master of horror. It's a brilliant blend of both. It's one of Eddie Murphy's best performances, in my opinion. It's right he doesn't make more stuff like this. So, my official grade for Vampire Brooklyn is a large popcorn. So let's make sure we're still going. Yeah, cool. Awesome. So at number 3, wait, I didn't know this one now. That's number 4. And number 3, I have Blade 2 here. But really, this movie is supposed to represent the entire Blade trilogy. I just put 2 there as a place marker because it's my favorite in the trilogy. But really, all 3 of these movies are great. So let's start with the first Blade. I'll make this quick. I remember when it first came out too, I begged my parents to take me to go see this. So my dad took me and my little brother, and we were shocked to find out what this movie really was. This was the first vampire movie I saw in theaters. I thought it was a superhero movie. But anyways, the first Blade was directed by Stephen Norrington. It was written by David S. Goyer. It stars Wesley Snipes, Stephen Dorff, and Chris Christopherson. Blade 2 if it'll pop up. Not Blade Runner 20. That's not what I clicked. There it is. Let's just load up this poster. Here it is. Awesome. Perfect. Blade 2 came out in 2002. It was directed by Guillermo del Toro. It was written by Marv Wolfman, Gene Coleman, and David S. Goyer. Wesley Snipes returned as Blade, so did Chris Christopherson, and this one also stars Ron Perlman. And it's also got a very young Norman Reedus of Walking Dead fame. The second one was made on a budget of $54 million, and it grossed $155 million at the box office. Wow. Am I still screaming? Great. Perfect. And then the third one, I think Blade Trinity is highly underrated. It gets a lot of hate, but I don't think it's as bad as most people make it seem. If my computer loads, here we go. This one came out in 2004. Snipes and Christopherson returned. Go away, I'm not sponsored. It's got a pretty cool poster, too. This was written and directed by David S. Goyer. It was also written by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. Snipes and Christopherson returned, but Parker Posey joins the cast, as well as Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel. This was made on a $65 million budget. It made $131.9 million at the box office. So, as far as the first Blade goes, the reason why I think it's so great is because it revitalized vampire films with sleek action, superhero style. And this predates the MCU, so in a lot of ways it was a precursor for that as well. As far as I know, the first Blade was also the first R-rated comic book movie to be made. Actually, that might not be true. I think The Crow might have come out before that. But one of those two, actually, I think The Crow did come out first. So I take that statement back. Never mind. But the first Blade is so unique because it combines martial arts with techno-vampire rave culture. They bring vampires to the modern age in the city. It's gritty, it's hyper-stylized, and it combines martial arts, gunplay, and sword fights. Blade's an interesting character, too, because he's half human, half vampire. They call him the Daywalker. Let's go back to that first poster. Sorry about that. So I would argue that this helped open the door for other superhero movies, more specifically the anti-hero movie. This really was ahead of its time. And it broke down barriers as far as defining genres goes. And you can see how this easily influenced the visual style for movies that came out after this in the 2000s. It really did lay the blueprint for all that stuff. Now, as far as the second one is concerned, it takes everything that was great about the first one and gives you more of it. And that's largely in part because of Del Toro. He's just got so much visual style. He's such a visionary director. what makes this great is because the grotesque creature design, the upped emotional stakes, and this has some really impressive CGI at the time too. I know a lot of people complain about it, but I think it looks fine. It's no different than a video game. It's got a unique angle too, because the vampires are against these mutated versions of vampires. So they have to team up with Blade in order to stop a common enemy. And Del Toro brings his signature creature design and gothic flair to the film too. It introduces the antagonist known as the Reapers, which is kind of like an evolution of vampires, but it's cool because their mouths open right up. And the way they do it is kind of like, it looks kind of like a face hugger is on the bottom of their face from Aliens, or like the Lost Plagueis from Resident Evil. It just looks so unique. It's so cool looking. Aside from visual style, this movie also has emotional depth, a creepy aesthetic, and it has some great dialogue too. There's some great exchanges between Blade and the vampires. They're really snarky with each other because they don't like each other, but they have to work together, right? I consider this better than the original because it balances horror, humor, and action masterfully. Only in a way that Del Toro can do it, too. Certain directors have certain visual flair, and they just have this sense of where to put the camera and how scenes should look. And he's one of them. I would argue this also helps cement Del Toro's global career, too, making movies outside of Mexico. Because of how it influenced creature design and how it combined action, horror, and comedy. So those are the reasons why I think this one's the best. I love Blade 2. And as far as the third one's concerned, well, it's not as strong as the first two are. I don't think it deserves all the hate. Mainly because it delivers solid action and introduces a vampire hunting team. To help Christopher's Whistler and Blade. It's got a unique angle too, because it adds to the vampire lore by making Dracula the main villain in this movie. But it's like a modern take on him. This ain't your granddaddy's Dracula. It also adds a lot more dark humor to the mix too. This is one of the more funny ones, where the first Blade is like a straight up horror movie. The second one's like an action horror movie. This one's more of a horror comedy. It feels more like some of the modern MCU movies in that way. Ryan Reynolds gives a very snarky performance that would foreshadow his role as Deadpool. I'd argue, too, that this movie helped him get that role. And without this movie, we wouldn't have gotten Blade in Deadpool and Wolverine. How cool is that? So it does have its own legacy, despite being flawed, because it's a fun end to the trilogy, and it cemented Blade's status in pop culture. This made him a household name. It's more of a continuation of the Blade story than it is a genre shifter. But I'd also argue that it helped launch Ryan Reynolds' action career. So that's why I love the Blade trilogy. I just combined them all and put them at number 3. Let's make sure we're still streaming. Yeah, cool. So, my number 2 pick. Which one's it going to be? Leave comments below if you can guess. Out of those two. Okay, I'm going to answer now. My number 2 pick is Bram Stoker's Dracula. So let's make sure it's still streaming. Yep, great, cool. Let's go here. Bram Stoker's Dracula. There we go. Now, don't get me wrong. I have the utmost respect for Christopher Lee, as well as Bela Lugosi. However, Gary Oldman is always going to be my Dracula, because this is the Dracula I grew up with. This movie gave me nightmares when I was a kid. It came out in 1992. It came out in 1992. So I would have been about 7 years old. It was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It was written by James V. Hart, inspired by a novel by Bram Stoker. It stars Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, Keanu Reeves, Carrie Elwes, and this has one of the best Renfields too. I keep forgetting his name though, and I didn't write that one down. Go away, not sponsored. Tom Waits, that's his name. I keep forgetting his name. He is phenomenal as Renfield. It made in the budget of $40 million. And it made $215.8 million at the box office. The reason why I think this one is so special is because it's visually opulent and faithful to the gothic romance of the original novel. This movie just exudes atmosphere. Gary Oldman's Dracula is both tragic and terrifying. It's got a unique angle because it's got an operatic sense to it. It's very sensual. It's very rich in atmospheric tone. And it primarily uses practical effects, which makes it feel all more realistic. It's lavish. It's theatrical. It's deeply rooted in the novel's tragedy and gothic romanticism. Gary Oldman's Dracula is regal, monstrous, and seductive, all at once. And fun fact, Coppola has gone on record to specifically state that there was no CGI used in this film. Everything was done practically. Everything was done on set or in camera. Like there's this scene where Dracula transforms into this big bat monster, and then he steps into the darkness, and all of a sudden he's just this big pile of rats. But it's done within seconds, and it's so cool the way it transitions like that. It's got a lot of fun editing transitions too, from one scene to the next scene. It's just so visually appealing. There's so much to look at here. It's one of those movies too. The more you watch it, the more things you notice each time. It touches on themes of immortality as a curse, Forbidden Love, Love Lost Long Ago, and Transformation, both mental and physical. The reason it's left such a legacy on people, especially me, because I feel like this is one of the most faithful and visually stunning adaptations of the novel. And if you haven't read the novel, I highly recommend it. However, the 92 film does deviate from the novel by portraying Dracula as Vlad the Impaler, longing for long-lost love, which adds depth and emotional complexity to the character. Coppola's devotion to in-camera effects and visual storytelling redefined what horror movies could be at the time. This had a whole different look for a modern vampire movie. And they kept it as a period piece too. That's awesome. Proof too that practical effects are more spectacular than digital effects could ever be. It really did elevate what a Dracula movie could be. So those are some reasons why that's in the number 2 spot. Am I still streaming? Great. So that leaves From Dusk Till Dawn as number 1. Oh, wait, I didn't say the grade for that one. My apologies. My official grade for Bram Stoker's Dracula is an extra large popcorn. So, obviously, that makes From Dusk Till Dawn number 1. There's reasons why I kept comparing Sinners to From Dusk Till Dawn. But again, I don't think it copied From Dusk Till Dawn. I think it's original enough. You can just see the influences, which is awesome. Again, this movie gave me nightmares when I was a kid. I tried watching it, and I just couldn't handle it. Love that poster, too. So, From Dusk Till Dawn came out in 1996. So I was 11 when this came out. It was directed by Robert Rodriguez. It was written by Quentin Tarantino and Robert Kurtzman. It stars Harvey Keitel, George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, Juliette Lewis, and it's also got a very young Danny Trejo and Cheech Marin. It was made in the budget of $19 million. And it made $25.8 million at the box office. Wow. Just want to make sure we're still streaming. Yep, great. So there's a lot of reasons why this is my number 1 movie. Number 1 vampire movie, I should say. The reason it's so special for me is the way it feels like 2 movies in one without feeling like 2 movies in one. Let me explain. It starts off as like a crime thriller, and then halfway through it flips to become a full-blown campy vampire horror movie. At the time, I had never seen anything like that. The first time I watched this, keep in mind too, I saw this movie for the first time before the first time I saw Psycho. So the combination of Tarantino's writing style and Rodriguez's directing style, plus unforgettable performances, make it a cult classic. It's a great mashup of the crime genre and the grindhouse horror movie energy that genre has. This isn't just a horror movie. This is a grindhouse movie. And at the time, it really did shock audiences because it wasn't advertised as a vampire movie. Back then, they did trailers way differently than they do now. Trailers didn't reveal everything about a movie. Imagine that. So, it's unpredictable, it's pulpy, and it's filled with memorable characters like Santanico Pandemonium. And her iconic dance scene. It's another reason why this film is so popular. At the time, Salma Hayek was very popular. All the boys loved her. That dance really is iconic, though. Right before she changes. This movie is so over the top with its gore. It's insane. Like, I can't even describe the level of gore. You just have to see this movie to believe how gory it is. Vampires explode, they get decapitated, they get appendages torn off, people are losing limbs and their sanity. And without saying too much to you, this has the best final shot of a movie where it has the big twist reveal. I won't say what it is if you don't know what it is, but something happens at the very end, and it literally will make you rethink everything that you just watched. It's that mind-blowing. I love when movies do that. It's so cool. That's why the final shot is like the best twist ending reveal ever. But I won't say what the twist is, and I won't say what exactly happens. Just, you have to see From Dusk Till Dawn. It's funny, it's gory, and you really feel a connection to these two brothers too. George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino are brothers on the run from the law. They run into this other family, and you get attached to those characters too. So it's just substance. Sorry, it's more than just style. There's also that substance, which I always appreciate. So those are the reasons why From Dusk Till Dawn is easily my favorite vampire movie. Let's just play the preview here. It's just a brief little one. The chemistry between the two actors is also phenomenal. Clooney and Tarantino. Tarantino doesn't get enough credit as an actor. He is not in very many movies, but the ones that he's in, he's great. Yes. You can see the characters there. There's Salma Hayek. There's the bar. Oh, this preview must have been from when it was re-released. Oh, 20th anniversary. That's cool. So yeah, there's a little bit of it. I can even go through some pictures. Just because the practical effects in this are phenomenal. Oh. I forgot to mention someone. This also has, it's got Fred Williamson. He's a great actor. But also, it's got Tom Savini, who's more known for his practical effects makeup. It's just cool to see faces you don't normally see in a movie. So I'll just go through a few photos here. There's Salma Hayek. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay. We don't want those kind of pictures, not the press release. Oh, it's not that many pictures, eh? Okay. And then we saw Salma Hayek. A lot of pictures of Salma Hayek. Wow. There we go. Here's inside the bar. The two brothers. The movie is also kind of a western too, so it blends the genres horror, comedy, and western. There's also a road trip movie. Just so many genres. Let's get out of this. So let's see. Go away. I'm sponsored. Go away. Trying to find a picture of the vampires. Oh, there's Cheech Marin. He actually plays like 4 or 5 characters in this. He just keeps popping up as different people. It's hilarious. Let's see if we can get some vampires though. I love the way the look of the vampires are. It's different too because these vampires have more of a snake-like look to them, as opposed to a bat-like look, like most other movies do. So I think it was influenced by Mexican culture, but don't quote me on that one. If I can just find the picture I'm looking for. Where is the vampire? Really? There's no pictures of vampires? Okay, let's go a little further. Oh, too far. Too far. Too far. Too far. Too far. There it is. That's the picture I was looking for. See, the vampires are more snake-like in this one. I love the creature design in this. So, my official grade for From Dusk Till Dawn is an extra large popcorn. Actually, scratch that. I'm going to give it an extra large popcorn. Let's add some extras in there. I can't oversell this movie, and I can't overstate how much I love this movie. So we're going to give it 3 extras. And let's make sure we're still going. All right, perfect. Awesome. So, in conclusion, while Sinners didn't make my top 5 favorite vampire movies, I can see this being like an annual Halloween watch when I do that each year before that holiday. This movie is very rewatchable, and I would still highly recommend Sinners because it's so much more than a vampire movie. And that's what the best vampire movies are. It takes a vampire and then adds another genre to it and puts it together seamlessly. So I tried to make my list a panorama of the vampire genre, touching every corner possible. This includes multiple subgenres like action, sci-fi, comedy, and even westerns. I think the movies that I've mentioned helped both redefine or reinvent vampire tropes for that era. And all the movies that I mentioned have strong directorial visual storytelling by the masters of their craft. I mean, we got Del Toro, we got Coppola, we got Bigelow, we got Craven. These are some of the best in their field. So no wonder there's that perfect balance of style, substance, and horror. I mean, we got the classic horror like Nosferatu. We got the romantic gothic horror like Bram Stoker's Dracula. We have action-packed like the Blade trilogy. We have the genre benders like From Dusk Till Dawn, Vampire in Brooklyn, and Fright Night. We have westerns like Near Dark. I'd even say From Dusk Till Dawn is a bit of a western too, actually. Then we have underground movies, found footage like Afflicted. And then we have modern brutality, like from 30 Days a Night. So that balance is why I consider these some of the best vampire movies of all time. So, do you agree with my list? What's your favorite vampire movie? Leave comments below and we can talk about it. Just for a quick recap, my official grade for Sinners was a large popcorn. So, that wraps up tonight's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I do apologize for the technical difficulties that we had early on, but we pushed through. The show must go on. We did it. We got to the end. And on that note, I will bid you adieu. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll see you
Oh, sorry about that. Let's try that again.
at the movies.
Wait,
Have a great day. Next time.
Hold on.
I'll see you at the movies.
Have a great day.
One more time.
So, until next time.
I'll see you at the movies.
Have a great day. Did you know that I'm a film critic for HorrorBuzz.com? You can read my reviews on their website. And I make frequent appearances on their YouTube channel, HorrorBuzz Live. So I'll leave links below for that.